How's it going, everyone? I am the Shaz here with the preview for the events and banners slated for the month of March. This month has a lot of stuff going on, so buckle up. The second round of Fest banners, 2 marathon events, and 2 SBLs. Oh, and paid step-up banners galore. Anywho, let's get into it. The first event that comes in the month of March will be the Illumination Night Marathon event, featuring Event UR Hanamaru, Event SR's Yume no Tobira Umi and Firebird Karin, Event Gacha UR's Nozomi and Emma, and Event Gacha SR Mitai Ken Horizon Yohane. As with all events, let's quickly cover the SRs. They're all pretty mediocre stat and kit wise, with the only saving grace being the fact that Mitai Ken Horizon Yohane has a cool attribute appeal buff passive. The free event UR is Charming Devil Hanamaru, her 6th UR, which comes as a pure attribute SK type. If you play enough during the event to get her to limit break 1, she starts with 4568 base appeal, 4543 base stamina, and 6088 base technique, good for a 32.91% crit rate. Her tap active makes for good SBL fodder, giving a skill activation rate up for all cards in the same strategy by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her passive is pretty great for a free event UR, giving an appeal boost for all other pure attribute cards by 4.9% at skill level 4. Her LSA, however, is the weakest part of her skills, providing a 2.5% appeal increase for cards in her strategy, the same LSA that Fest Kanan has. This card is deceptively flexible, having room in skill activation cheese formations for SBL, and as a backliner for pure focused main scoring strategies. The first part of the event gacha brings Nozomi's 7th UR, Charming Devil Nozomi. A cool attribute guard guard type card. This one is far from fantastic. At limit break 0, she starts with 4628 base appeal, 7098 base stamina, and 4790 base technique. Her tap active is damage reduction, reducing 27% of the damage taken for the next 4 notes. Her passive is also very lackluster, only increasing the appeal of same strategy cards by 4% at skill level 3, which doesn't really matter too much because running damage reduction tap active cards as your main sustain is generally regarded as terrible. Her live show active, also very weak, recovers 30% of her stamina to your stamina pool upon switching strategies, only activating a maximum of 2 times per live. As you can probably tell, I don't really love the functionality of this card. I find most damage reduction tap active cards pretty useless, and this card just adds itself to the list. The second part of the event gacha gives Emma's 5th UR, Charming Devil Emma, which comes as a Smile attribute SP type. At limit break 0, she comes with 6002 base appeal, 4059 base stamina, and 6163 base technique, which starts her at a 33.13% crit rate. Her tap active is an SP gauge bomb, adding 31% of her appeal to the next SP gauge as voltage. Her passive is a technique buff to other Smile attribute cards by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her LSA is a little on the weaker side, adding 3% of her technique as an SP gauge fill at the very beginning of the live. This card doesn't have a really good comparison. The closest would be something like Noble Princess Rico, but with better stats and a weaker LSA. Following the Illumination Night event, we'll be getting the first in the second season of Fest banners, featuring highlighted URs Kanan, Kasumi, and Ellie. Sorry Kanan and Kazuoshis, this timing is pretty horrible for you, seeing as we just had their first Fest banner only a little over 2 months ago. The SRs on this banner are Like It Love It Setsuna, who is a pure attribute SP type gauge filler, and Mitai Ken Horizon Rico, an elegant attribute SK type stamina healer. Both have their uses, so this banner is already looking good. The first of the URs we'll go over is Kanan, known as Loyal Knight Kanan, her 2nd Fest card and 6th UR overall. An elegant attribute guard type, this card has the ability to become the largest stamina stick in the game. At limit break 0, Kanan starts with 4309 base appeal, a gargantuan 8437 base stamina, and 5201 base technique. Kanan's tap active is the standard Fest stamina heal of 34% of her stamina at skill level 3. Her passive is middle of the road for sustain cards, giving a stamina buff of cards in the same strategy by 6% at skill level 3. Finally, her LSA, guaranteed to activate upon switching strategies, reduces the damage taken by 17% over the next 3 nodes. This LSA only activates a maximum of twice per live. As I alluded to earlier, this card, at max limit break, has the highest base stamina pre-passives in the game, topping out at 15,100, roughly 300 more than Fes Maki. When comparing her to the other Fes Elegant healer, Fes Ruby, Kanan has more base appeal, more stamina, and more technique. Final verdict, Kanan gains another strong Fes card that power creeps on an already existing card. Sorry, Ruby Oshis. The second card is Kasumi Utopia Kasumi, her 5th UR overall. An elegant attribute voltage type, this card is pretty strong. At limit break 0, she starts with 7594 base appeal, 4588 base stamina, and 5474 base technique. Her tap active is the voltage boost, adding 36% of her appeal to your score. Her passive is the first of its kind for URs, giving an appeal boost to all other voltage types by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her LSA is also tied to voltage types, increasing the appeal of other voltage cards by 4.1% for the next 5 nodes upon AC completion. Really? This frickin' 4.1% BS again? Why, K-Lab? Why you do this? Anyway, this card can be good if you're brute forcing songs for SBL and Volran events with 3 voltage types, giving you some flexibility without worrying about attributes, just typing. Her LSA is AC dependent, which takes it down a peg for me, but overall, a solid card with the 4th highest base appeal at max limit break for all cards in the game. The last card to cover in the banner is Sensational Diva Ellie, her 6th UR overall. An active attribute SK type, this card has the 7th highest base appeal in the game at max limit break. At limit break 0 though, she starts with 7068 base appeal, 4408 base stamina, and 6181 base technique. Her tap active and live show active will bring comparisons to Fes Hanamaru, with her tap active providing a stamina shield equal to 34% of her technique at skill level 3. In addition, Ellie's LSA provides a guaranteed stamina heal of 3% of her technique every time she crits. Her passive feels a little out of place for her abilities as she provides an appeal buff to cards in the same strategy by 6% at skill level 3. This card, as a sustainer, is the best consistent scoring option in the game to this point. Unlike Ellie's initial UR, she doesn't have to rely on a high crit rate to score well, though not having any way to boost the stat connected to her 2 abilities does hurt her quite a bit. Overall, a great scoring sustain option if you don't have Fes Mari or are looking to skip the Nico Yo Fes banner that follows this one. In addition to the regular Fes banner, this round of Fes cards also gets a paid step-up banner as well, coming in 8 parts that cost a total of 2,450 pay gems if you do all of the steps. Waiting for you at step 8 is a 10 pull guaranteeing one of these 3 URs, so if you're looking to pull on this banner but don't have enough free gems to spark it, you now have another option. The end of a marathon event means another story update. Chapter 22 brings with it the attribute version of Jingle Bell Ga Tomaranai and Angelic Angel. A reminder that the story now has both normal and hard difficulties, which means more gems for you to farm. Let's start with Jingle Bell Ga Tomaranai, which comes to the game in the natural attribute. It does have a cleansable 20% off attribute debuff on advanced, so you'll most likely want to bring a cleanser. It will take a hefty 8.56 million voltage to S rank on advanced, so be ready. The song itself deals 919 damage per note, and all ACs buff Aqua cards, so this is a prime spot for Fes Maru if you have her. There are 3 SP gauge ACs in this song, with the first coming relatively early, so cards like Fest Emma and Serenade Maki are quite helpful. The biggest headache comes in the third AC, which requires 9 tap skills to activate out of 19 notes, or a 48% activation percentage. Luckily, this AC buffs skill activation rates for Aqua cards, so if you're running a strategy like Initial Kanan, Initial Mari, and Fest Maru, you should be okay. The second song added to the game is Angelic Angel by Muse, which comes as an elegant attribute song with a 7.6 million voltage requirement to S rank on Advanced. It also has a non-cleansable 20% off attribute debuff, but there are elements of this song that make it less daunting. First, all of the ACs buff the gauge gain rate of SP type cards. Second, there are gimmick notes that increase Muse member appeal by 20% for 10 notes. Lastly, the other gimmick note in the song gives SP type cards a gauge gain of 50% for the next 10 notes. All of this leads towards a formation centered around Fest Kotori and Fest Ellie. The combination of these two cards makes the song incredibly easy. If you lack either of these cards, it's fine. I would have Initial Yohane and Present for You Ayumu as the next two cards I'd use in the main scoring formation just to take advantage of all that gauge gain. Oh, and Signal Rina is great for this song. An on attribute, SP type stamina healer? Yes please! Along with story chapter updates and fest banners, we should most likely be getting SBL, this time as a special edition. Called the School Idol Festival SBL, or SIF SBL, this event was pretty insane, and a heck of a lot of fun if you have a half-decent cheese team. The SIF SBL was broken up into 3 parts, covering 6 days. Not only was this SBL broken up into 3 different parts, but instead of 3 song plays per day, this SBL gave each song 5 plays per day, which can make for lots of extra SBL tokens for players that have teams specifically built for skill activations, SP gauge cycling, or heal tap skill activations. Just so I don't leave some of you out in the cold, here are the song lists for all the parts. Part 1, Niji Iro Passions, Neo Sky Neo Map, Yume ga Koko kara Hajimaru yo. Part 2, Supernova, Dreamland Dream World, Sing and Smile. Part 3, Angelic Angel, Hop Stop Non-Stop, and Tokimeki Runners Chapter 17 version. Expect to see my full-length video on this SBL very soon. After SBL completes, we get the Hatsumode, or New Year, exchange event. The trial song for the next 2 events is Hop Stop Non-Stop, with the voltage ranking songs being Sore wa Bokutachi no Kiseki, Landing Action Yeah, and Kaika Sengen. The free event UR for the New Year's event is Kanata. The event SRs are Kira Kira Sensation Maki and Miracle Wave Maru. The event Gacha URs are Hanayo and Rico. And the event Gacha SR is Niji Iro Passion's Eye. All of the SRs tied to the event are okay, nothing really special. Oh, and I almost forgot. This event actually has a paid step-up banner attached to it in addition to the regular event gacha. So those of you whales out there looking for more radiance, here you go. The event UR, New Year's Kanata, is her 5th, and dang, it's actually sort of useful. A pure attribute guard type, if you're able to get her to Limit Break 1, starts with 3522 base appeal, 7275 base stamina, and 4279 base technique. Her tap active is a stamina heal equal to 24% of her stamina at skill level 3. Her passive increases the stamina of all cards by 3.9% at skill level 4. Her LSA is pretty middle of the road, increasing skill activation rate of all cards by 6% at the start of an appeal chance, but only for the first 5 notes. Honestly, this card is a pretty great add for most players, as her passive, tap active, and highest stat line up perfectly. The first of the event gacha URs is New Year's Hanayo, her 7th UR. A cool attribute SP type, this card is very average. At Limit Break 0, she starts with 6437 base appeal, 4453 base stamina, and 5614 base technique. Her tap active is an SP gauge bomb, adding 31% of her appeal as voltage to the next SP gauge at skill level 3. Her passive provides an appeal buff to all cards in her strategy by 6% at skill level 3, but she doesn't really have the sky high appeal to make this passive very effective. Her live show active is also pretty weak, adding 7.5% of her appeal to the next SP gauge as voltage upon every appeal chance completion. The second UR on the event banner is New Year's Rico, her 7th UR, which comes as a Smile attribute voltage type. At Limit Break 0, she starts off with 6612 base appeal, 3792 base stamina, and 6112 base technique. Her tap active is the voltage boost, adding 31% of her appeal as voltage at skill level 3. Her passive is the same attribute buff, increasing the appeal of other Smile attribute cards by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her live show active is great, guaranteeing a 2% appeal buff for all Smile attribute cards at the start of the live, just like her previous UR from the Moon Rabbit event. This card is really solid, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this card eventually get run in voltage rankings for Smile songs due to her tap active. The next instance of Dreamlight Parade should bring with it a new limited time tower that I call the R Tower. In addition to getting the initial and school towers back, we get a tower that gives all R cards an additional 2 PP. This tower, however, has very low voltage requirements for a lot of the songs, so if you can square away a couple of hours to get this tower done, I highly advise you to do so. This tower won't be seen again after it goes away, so the relatively easy Dreamlight Parade tokens that you would be able to get would just disappear. Around the time of DLP, we should be getting the next Spotlight banner, which again features Ayumu, but this time alongside Miracle Wave Daya. Daya is actually not bad, an active attribute SP type gauge filler with decent appeal for an SR. Oh, and before I forget, this Spotlight banner, like the last Fest banner and the last event, also has a paid step up banner attached to it, so whales, you better get your credit cards ready. Anyway, let's get to the Spotlight UR, Mystic Fairy Ayumu, her 5th, which comes as a pure attribute voltage type. At Limit Break 0, she starts with 6980 base appeal, 4059 base stamina, and 5198 base technique and a 15.29% crit rate. Her tap active is a new hybrid skill, providing a 4.4% appeal increase for cards in her strategy for the next 5 notes, in addition to a voltage boost of 17% of her appeal at skill level 3. Her passive is the best for frontline scoring, providing a 6% appeal increase for all cards in her strategy at skill level 3. Her live show active is okay, providing a voltage boost equal to 10.5% of her appeal upon appeal chance completion. As far as an evaluation, this card has a chance to be a sneaky one, a very good pure attribute scorer if you don't own Fes Chica or Fesio. The last event for the month of March should be the Year of the Ox Exercise Marathon event, featuring Event UR Kanan, Event SR's Kira Kira Sensation Honoka and Niji Ito Passions Rina, Event Gacha SR Miracle Wave Chica, and Event Gacha UR's Umi and Karin. This is the first time I'm saying this in a while, but all of the SRs tied to this event, well, they frickin' suck. Honoka has a damage reduction tap active, Rina's kit is all over the creation, and Chica's supposed to be a scoring SK type, but her stats are too low even to be of any use. The free event UR, called Move Farm Days Kanan, is her 7th, and comes as a pure attribute SP type. If you're able to tier enough to get the second copy, she'll start with 4811 base appeal, 5077 stamina, and 5572 base technique, giving her a 31.39% crit rate. Her tap active is very unique as it provides a stamina shield equal to 22% of her technique at skill level 3. Yeah, an SP type stamina shielder, go figure. Her passive increases the technique of all other pure cards by 4.9% at skill level 4, and her live show active adds 2.7% of her appeal to the SP gauge at the start of a live. While her typing and LSA will throw a lot of people into saying this card is trash, I'm not gonna go that far. Her tap active is linked to her highest stat as well as her passive. This fact alone gives this card a bare minimum 3 moves out of 5 for me. The first part of the event gacha gives us Move Farm Days Umi, her 7th UR, this one coming as a cool attribute voltage type. At Limit Break 0, she starts with 6936 base appeal, 5114 base stamina, and 4453 base technique. Her tap active is a voltage boost, adding 31% of her appeal as voltage at skill level 3. Her passive is pretty restrictive, boosting the appeal of other Muse cards by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her LSA is also tied to her fellow Muse members, increasing their appeal by 4% over the next 5 notes after appeal chance completion. I really want to like this card, but the passive and live show active really hold it back. In addition, a voltage card like this having over 5k stamina at limit break 0 is not really optimal. You'd want some of those points moved either into more appeal or technique, but this was probably a way to nerf the card's strength. The second part of the event gacha gave us Move Farm Day's Kanan, an active attribute SK type that comes as her 5th UR. At limit break 0, Kanan starts off with 6163 base appeal, 4864 base stamina, and 5198 base technique. Her entire kit of abilities revolves around active attribute cards, starting with her tap active, which provides a voltage gain to other active cards by 6.6% for the next 5 notes at skill level 3. Think the Blue Amor Umi or Cat Huririn tap active. Her passive is a same attribute appeal buff, increasing the appeal of other active attribute cards by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her LSA is weak, increasing the crit rate of other active attribute cards by 10% for the next 5 notes upon AC completion. I really want to like this card too, but unless you're a Kanan Oshi, I wouldn't go out of my way to scout for the card, as there are many better scoring options in the attribute. The second fest banner of the month brings URs for Nico and Yo, along with SRs for Kita Kita Sensation Rin and Niji Ito Passion's Shizuku. Nothing is particularly special about either of these cards, as the stats/abilities mixture on both is relatively underwhelming. The first of the Fest URs we'll go over is Fest Nico, her 7th UR overall, also known as Little Venus Nico, that comes as a pure attribute voltage type. At limit break 0, she starts with 7531 base appeal, 4127 base stamina, and 6276 base technique. Her tap active is a voltage gain, increasing the voltage of other pure attribute cards by 7.6% for the next 5 notes at skill level 3. Her passive boosts the appeal of other pure attribute cards by 4.6% at skill level 3. Her live show active, which is very weak, adds 3% of her appeal as voltage every time you switch strategies. As great as this card is scoring wise, she sports the 5th highest base appeal at max limit break, she doesn't really pair well with either Fest Yo or Fest Chica, since both of those only boost other second years. Her best strategy would probably include Fest Kasumi and Sparkling Night Parade Yohane, but even that strategy does have some holes in it for higher level scoring. The other Fest card on the banner is Charm of the Banquet Yo, her 7th UR overall that appears as a Smile attribute SK type. At limit break 0, she starts with 6095 base appeal, 4658 base stamina, and 7182 base technique, giving her a 36.12% crit rate that is the highest among all Smile attribute cards in the game at limit break 0. Her kit is basically a mix of Fest Mari and Fest Kanan, with her tap active giving a stamina heal of 34% of her technique at skill level 3. Her passive is the very good frontline passive, giving an appeal buff to all cards in the same strategy by 6% at skill level 3. Her live show active is identical to Fest Kanan, guaranteeing a 2.5% appeal buff to all cards in her strategy at the start of a live. This card is a very heavy power creep on Fest Mari, having better stats in both appeal and technique while maintaining the same tap active and passive. The difference in their live show actives means that for more consistent scoring, you're going to see a lot more of this Fest Yo showing up as a guest card, but Fest Mari will still be around in case people want to try their luck, hitting Mari's 5% appeal buff instead of Yo's guaranteed 2.5%. The SBL that comes with the Fest banner is pretty straightforward, with the standard MVP categories of voltage, SP gauges, and skill activations returning once again. The songs for this 9th iteration of SBL are Snowhalation for Muse, Brightest Melody for Aqua, and Anata Risou no Heroine for Niji. The stat buff for this SBL goes to the second years. I'll be working on this SBL video as soon as I'm done with the one for the SIF SBL, so stay tuned for that video in a couple of weeks. Lastly, the Chapter 23 update. This story chapter brings us the attribute version of Hop Stop Nonstop from Aqua and Kita Kita Sensation from Muse. Since we've been playing Hop Stop, let's cover that first. It comes into the game as an active attribute song with some of the gimmicks being cranked up now that it has an attribute version. The non-cleansable song debuff gets cranked up to 20% for non-Aqua cards, with the voltage ACs increasing to 640k, 552k, and 460k for ACs 1, 2, and 4. The third AC, which will frustrate a lot of players, requires a total of 11 skill activations. Even though that AC does come with a skill activation rate buff for Aqua cards, having only 23 notes in that AC means you need 48% skill activation in that AC to clear it. If you really have trouble with it, there is a gimmick note that also buffs skill activation rates of guard types, so a strategy of 3 Aqua guard types should make that particular AC much easier to clear. Kita Kita Sensation comes into the game as a pure attribute song that should be straightforward, but maybe not so easy to clear depending on your card pool. It requires 7.9 million voltage to S rank on advanced, where the main song gimmick is the non-cleansable reduction of gauge gain for non-SP type cards, so tap scoring isn't really hindered. This does matter, however, as the first, third, and fourth ACs require SP gauge pops, so you may want to add a gauge fill card in your main strategy when trying to clear this song. Appeal chances 1, 2, and 4 increase the appeal of pure attribute cards, while appeal chance 3 gives a stamina heal of 4,000 for every SP type card in your formation, which could be useful to remember if this song ever comes to a voltage ranking or SBL. One quick thing before we wrap up. Don't forget to check the anime story by clicking this button in the corner every Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on your time zone. I don't want you guys to miss out on free URs or Radiants, so here are the URs we'll be getting for free in the month of March. Ice Skating Setsuna, Uma Event or Princess of Ryugujo Ai, Red Riding Hood Emma, Signal Rina, and Steam Maiden Kanata in that order. With over 11 pages of information now complete, we will wrap up this video on the events slated to come during the month of March on the All-Stars Global server. As always, a huge thank you to Xifrid for help with the visual assets for this video and putting up with me asking for all kinds of random shit. Don't worry, he is being financially compensated for his work. Also, if you want to help Xifrid get paid more money, like, share, and comment on this video so that I can pay him a larger amount of money. Lastly, a big thank you to my Twitch subs, Shut-It, 86 Romy, Poker Dottie, AJ Bailey 3, Kotaro-chan, Madeir Cutie, Captain Cupcake, Super Penguin 7, Spicy Quiche, Dark Genic Smash, Halcyon, and Sinring, most of whom have gifted subs in the channel as well. I've been I Am the Shaz, take it easy, be nice to each other, and I'll see you all next time.